Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm pleased to be joined by Chris Mitchell, who's our Chief Operating Officer for the City of San Diego, as well as Rolando Charvel, our Chief Financial Officer, and Matt Vespi, who is the Director of the City's Department of Finance. Now more than ever, we really are one city. We are, in essence, a 1.4 million person family as we get through all of this. And I'm going to talk about today how our family gets through this together as I introduce the budget for the coming year. We introduce the budget every April. But before I talk about the numbers, I'm going to talk about where we're going, because this budget is dramatically different. Every single one of us has been touched by this pandemic. It's upended our daily lives. It's taken away things that we used to take for granted. But it has also allowed us to see more clearly, to refocus on what matters, to see the common humanity that we all share. And you see it all over our city. San Diegans helping San Diegans. People are united. And when confronted with dark times, San Diego's spirit always shines through. And I applaud every parent and every teacher. Families really have turned kitchen tables into classrooms. It hasn't been perfect, but we're doing our best. San Diegans are following the stay-at-home orders. We haven't been going to beaches. We haven't been going to parks, but we are saving lives. Churches, mosques, and synagogues have been empty. Sermons have moved online. We're keeping the faith while keeping our physical distance. We, of course, just celebrated Easter and are in the last days of Passover. San Diegans found their own ways to celebrate and to rejoice. And we're doing it in ways that shows the best of our city. I will tell you, our first responders have been amazing. Firefighters, lifeguards, police officers. Every single first responder is working day and night to keep us safe, and they've done it with compassion. And we can't thank them enough. And new heroes have emerged on our front lines. San Diego's doctors, nurses, healthcare workers. You are exhibiting bravery that few of us could imagine. And in fact, San Diego is seeing heroes everywhere you look. Grocery store workers, restaurant chefs, delivery drivers. You're on the front lines too. You're working hard so we can stay at home. All of our first responders have stepped up. And San Diego says, thank you. But that doesn't mean that the economic effects aren't real. Servers, bartenders, cooks, janitors, housekeepers. A few weeks ago, we enjoyed one of the strongest economies ever in San Diego. And now, suddenly, many San Diegans are out of work. When people stay at home or lose their jobs, they're unable to spend money. Our economy is currently at a virtual standstill. Passenger travel is down 95% at the airport. Activity at the border is a fraction of what it was. The busiest border crossing in the Western Hemisphere. Barely a car in sight. Shopping districts, of course, are all but empty. And gyms, hair salons, and our local pubs are closed. Tourism has been halted. Our economic engine has been switched off for the time being. COVID-19 has impacted all of us, and city government is no exception. We are feeling it just like everybody else. And we've only been at this, of course, for just about a month. But we've never had a month like this. We've never had a month without eating in restaurants. We've never had a month without our small businesses doing what they do best. We've never had a month without any conventions. And we've never had a month without tourism, one of the backbones of our economy. We've never had a month really where the economy that really funds our city budget has come to a screeching halt. We've never had a month like this, and of course, we've never had a budget like this. But I have two goals with the budget that I'm presenting this afternoon. First is to look out after our 1.4 million San Diego residents. And second is to look out for our 11,000 city employees. Our city is the region's 7th largest employer, larger than Qualcomm. And we proudly employ thousands. And I take that very seriously, especially at a time when so many San Diegans are out of work. Our city employees are in this just like the rest of us. But like every family right now in San Diego, the city has to make tough choices as well. And we are going to do it. We're going to do it with care. And all of us, all of our city employees and our city residents, we are going to get through this together. So there's a few key points that I want to make before I turn it over to our Director of Finance, Matt Besby. First really is the enormity of the challenge, of this budget challenge. This budget is balanced, responsibly using best practices. It closes one of the largest deficits in our city's history, approximately $250 million. Just to give you a little context, the budget deficit that we were facing during the Great Recession was $180 million. Second, I want to talk about how we're going to close this gap. Simply put, it's going to be a third ongoing reductions, a third cuts in one-time expenses, and a third in reserves. We're going to be making some changes. Our libraries are going to be open 5 days a week instead of 7. We've analyzed which days are the best and which have the fewest visitors, and that'll be Sundays and Mondays. That'll be closed. Our rec centers, we're going to be reducing our operating hours by 25%, and the hours will vary depending upon location. We are going to be decreasing arts grant funding, and we're going to be eliminating positions in the city budget, 354 positions. This is a hard decision, but it's not taken lightly. We will work with all of our affected employees to help them get through this difficult time. We're also going to have a spending freeze on non-personnel expenditures. And our finance director is going to walk you through that in just a second. Third, and I think most importantly, we're going to keep our focus on essential city services, our public safety, our water and wastewater, trash pickup, street repair, and our homeless services. They will continue, and they will continue to be our focus. One of the very few additions is going to be $2 million for our small business relief fund, which is helping so many San Diegans. And finally, I think it's important to talk about what to expect next. Every budget is based upon current projections. And in this situation, it's a bit hard to project what is going to come next in terms of our economic situation. This budget, of course, is a snapshot in time, but it's based upon what we know right now. And what we know is that every minute that our economy is closed, our budget challenges grow deeper. In May, in just a few weeks from now, I'm going to revise the budget based upon where we stand next month. We'll publicly unveil that in the May revise. A few other factors in the meantime. We'll be getting some stimulus dollars from Washington, D.C., but those are dollars that are going to be having to be spent on items related to the COVID-19 costs. But we cannot use one-time dollars to try to solve what is going to be ongoing expenses. That one-time check from Washington won't help with that. I do not want to leave the next mayor with a worse budget situation than we are facing right now. We need to make these decisions now. Waiting is not an option. Other government agencies may want to wait and to punt, but I think we have to lead in San Diego and take this head on. We've been leaders in so much in this crisis, and we're going to continue to lead on doing the right things to set up our neighborhoods for future success. I never thought we'd have to present a budget like this, particularly when I look back several months ago. We, together with my colleagues on the City Council, we've really focused on building up our core city services, particularly over the last 6 years, and taking that One San Diego pledge and putting it into reality. We had our library and our rec centers hours at the highest that they've ever been in over a decade. We, of course, have had historic infrastructure investments. We set the record for road repairs, which was so incredibly important, and we really focused on rebuilding our San Diego Police Department. This budget, of course, is different. But like all the budgets that I put forward to San Diegans, it's going to make responsible decisions today so we can get to to a better future tomorrow. This is all about setting up our city for success. We're going to do that. Success for us right now, success for the future mayor and the city council and all of our residents and all of our neighborhoods. The decisions that we make now will help set that table. As I said before, we have really led in San Diego on public health aspects of doing the right thing when it comes to the coronavirus. And San Diego is going to lead on the financial impacts of this virus. In conclusion, it's really not about me, my team, or what we're doing. It's about all of San Diego. It's about making the decisions that help our neighborhoods and doing the right thing. There's actually no better place I'd rather be right now than helping to make these decisions based upon our experience and based upon all of the hard work that we've done together as a city over the last several years to right this ship. The road ahead is not going to be easy, but if we follow it and make the right decisions now, we're going to get to where we need to go. We're going to do it with integrity, we're going to do it with transparency, and we're going to do it with a focus on core neighborhood services. We are going to get through this. We're going to get through this as one San Diego and as working together. And with that, I will introduce our Finance Director, Matt Vespi, who is going to walk us through some of the specifics of the budget numbers. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon. As the Mayor mentioned, my name is Matt Vespi, currently the Director of the Department of Finance for the City of San Diego. So to cover some more detail, we currently have a proposed budget of $3.9 million that is fiscally responsible, as the Mayor mentioned. We are facing a pretty large economic issue as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic that we are that's ahead of us. This is cumulative of both 2020 and 2021. Our focus in this budget is prioritizing our essential core services, but however, while focusing on those, we do still have significant budget reductions that will impact our service levels. Additional modifications will be included in our May revise as the information that is coming towards us continuously evolves, and we will incorporate that information in our May revise. So first, before I get into more specifics on fiscal year 2021, I want to talk about fiscal year 2020. So that's the remainder of the current fiscal year, the months of April through June. We've seen significant impacts in our TOT and our sales tax revenue coming at us in the next 3 months. For example, in April, we are projecting to receive 0 TOT revenue. In May as well, it's looking really like we're going to have really low revenues as well. In order to mitigate that revenue loss of $109 million, we have a list of items that we have already put in place with a hiring freeze and a freeze on non-personnel expending, but we also have other items as shown on the slide here. Those items will help us get to mitigating that loss of revenue. However, it will not be possible to do that without the use of some of our reserves. So moving into fiscal year 2021 and providing a little more detail on our TOT revenue, this chart shows what we were projecting before the COVID-19 pandemic really ramped up. The blue line is our pre-COVID-19 projections. As you can see, for fiscal year 2020, we were previously projecting to receive $254 million in TOT revenue. We are now projecting to receive only $171 million. For 2021, we were projecting $271 million. However, now we are only projecting to receive $234 million. In total, the loss in revenue cumulatively for 2020 and 2021 is estimated to be $121 million. Moving on to sales tax, we've got a similar graph here where, again, the blue line represents our pre-COVID projections, while the red line reflects our projections including the COVID-19 impacts. So for 2020, we were projecting $300 million. We are now projecting $275 million. And again, for 2021, we were projecting $311. We're now projecting $282 million. Cumulative loss over the 2 fiscal years of $55 million. To kind of summarize the major revenues, these projections are projections that are based on the most reasonable and most relevant information that we had at the time of March 30th when we cut off our projections, and then really had to focus on our expenditure budget and how we were going to balance our budget. The greatest impacts, again, and most immediate impacts are to our TOT and our sales tax revenue. However, uncertainty continues to remain as to where the end of the economic impacts are. And again, as the mayor mentioned, expect additional downward changes most likely in our May revise. Shifting from our revenues to our expenditures in the general fund, we are, again, focusing on maintaining those essential service levels. Public safety, police, fire, water, refuse collection, homelessness services, those are the focus. We do have other expenses, though, that are also increasing, including citywide elections coming in the fall, and also some other increases in animal services contracts and other items of the like. We do have some minor budget additions that are included in this proposal, including some critical public safety items, a handful of new facilities that are coming online during the coming year, including a new fire station, as well as $2 million for an economic relief fund for small businesses. The budget includes a handful of reorganizations that will increase our efficiencies, but they are primarily budget neutral. We do have ongoing negotiations with our labor unions. However, this budget proposal does not include any salary increases. Again, we do have reductions included in this budget that will impact our service levels. Those budget reductions total $61.2 million, and as the mayor mentioned, include the reduction of 354 positions. Additionally, we have other actions available that are detailed in the budget document that help bring us to a balanced budget and allow us to reduce that number of budget reductions. So to provide a little more detail on our budget reductions, as the mayor mentioned, we are proposing the reduction of library hours, going to an open schedule of Tuesday through Saturday with all branches, including the Central Library, closed on Sunday and Monday, as those are the lowest traffic days for the library system. Additionally, we have reductions in our Park and Rec center hours from 60 hours a week to 45 hours a week. And another one I want to mention on this slide is a reduction of 50% in arts and culture funding. We're leaving $5.6 million in grant funds available for distribution. Again, details on all of these reductions and all of the adjustments in our proposed budget are available on our website. So in conclusion, the fiscal year 21 budget is balanced and it is a responsible proposal. Economic impacts, again, exceed $250 million. Actions are going to be necessary to mitigate the loss of revenues both in fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21. Continuous monitoring of both our revenues and our expenditures and just the impacts of COVID on the city's finances will be monitored throughout the process and into the next fiscal year. And again, expect additional modifications to be proposed in the May revision. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Matt. And before I talk about San Diegans stepping up and then answering questions from members of the media, today is National ASL Day, American Sign Language Day, and I want to thank and recognize our interpreters, KJ and Ranim. Thank you very much for what you guys are doing. And I want to thank everybody with our city staff, Alex, Shay, Candace, Jason, and Mike, everybody who helps make these briefings possible every afternoon. Normally, I do highlight one San Diegan that is stepping up every day during these briefings. But today, I'd like to really highlight a lot of them, actually 11,000 of them. I want to thank all of our city employees. We rely on you. We rely on them for our essential city services during this very, very difficult time. They're making sacrifices just like everyone else. I'm grateful to each and every one of you for what you're doing to move our city forward. With that, we will get through this. We will get through this together, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from members of the media.
The first question is from Andrew Bowen with KPBS.
Can you hear us, Andrew? Maybe go to the next one.
Next question is from Kasha with Fox 5.
maybe you could, if you have any of the text questions, we'll go to those first, and we can come back on some of the audio.
Just waiting for questions to be texted.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate everybody's patience there. Want to make sure we get in and get your questions.
And the first question is from Kasha with Fox 5.
Yep.
Asking if you can elaborate on the 354 positions that will be eliminated.
Yeah, we'll be putting that, all of those positions will be in the budget as well. I said that will really come to full and part-time positions. Obviously, as we're reducing some of our libraries and rec centers staff and some of that, those will be a part of that. But a full list of those positions will be available in the budget.
And the next question from Andrew.
Yep.
What departments are the layoffs in?
So there's going to be across the city, we're going to be eliminating, we're making reductions in virtually every single city department. And we'll be making some deletions in every single city department with cuts. For a full list of those in every department, as I said, you can go to the city's website, and that'll be listed out. But I thought it was important, again, that we really protect our core city services, and we will. But even our police department and our fire department, we're going to be making reductions in other areas, not necessarily, obviously, our sworn personnel. That's important because we can do that and we'll need to do that in every city department across the board. And that's reflected in this budget.
And one question from Omari with NBC7. What are the jobs that will be cut?
Similar questions. I give all of the positions and all the reductions are going to be on the city's website. But Matt Vespi, you want to come on in and add a few details to that?
So as the mayor previously mentioned, the reductions that are being proposed as part of our budget do cover all of our general fund departments. And the details are outlined in pretty good detail within that document. I recommend that you refer to that. And that document is, again, posted on our website, available now.
Any other questions from members of the media?
And one more with Omari from
Yep.
NBC7. San Diego is a beautiful city, but what do you say to those who say there's too much of a reliance on the TOT?
I will tell you, we're fortunate in San Diego to really have the strong support of our small business economy, whether that's our restaurants and others. We're feeling the impact on that. We're fortunate to have the tourism revenue that we have. That's a strength of ours. That's a competitive advantage. And that's why we're going to continue to work, obviously, to get through this health crisis, but to get us back, to get that convention center back open, all of the tourism attractions and other, that's the strength of ours. And we need to, that's how we compete against other cities, and that's allowed us to do some great things when it comes to infrastructure and neighborhood services. So just like all of our businesses, small business, tourism economy, our restaurants, that's why getting over this curve sooner rather than later will allow us to get back to work and open this economy. And I'll be talking more about that later on this week on our plans to do that.
And another question from Kasha with Fox 5. Can you give some examples of the 50% reduction to arts and culture will affect?
Yeah, those are grant funding. And again, another difficult decision because arts are so important to who we are as a city. And as we've been able to increase that year over year, that's been something I've been very proud of. Our arts are vibrant. It really helps define who we are. And so we are going to be making some reductions into some of that grant funding. That's a necessary reality. But just like we're seeing the private sector step up in other areas, I'm optimistic and hopeful that we will see that as well to help minimize those impacts as much as possible because arts, culture, our community festivals and events are so important to who we are as San Diegans.
And the last question from Andrew Bowen with KPBS. Is there any money in capital improvement project accounts that is being diverted to cover operating expenses?
So now I'll have Matt Vespi talk about that.
So in the fiscal year 2020, mitigation actions to help offset our revenue decrease, there are about $10 million worth of general fund, cash-funded CIP projects that we will recommend replacing that funding with commercial paper debt financing.
other questions? Again, I want to thank Matt Vesby, our Chief Financial Officer, Rolando Chavez, Chris Michelle, our Chief Operating Officer. Thank you for the deliberative process that we all went through. Making these reductions, the cuts that are being suggested are not easy, but they're necessary. We're going to continue to work on all of these numbers, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to be back in May when we have some updated revenue projections, and we're going to continue to take the actions that set us up for success, not just in the short term, but as I said before, the long term. That's our #1 goal. So thank you all for being at today's briefing. You can go on the city's website, and the budget will be available now. Thank you very much.